Hi everyone, welcome to Starlight Activation. I'm Anthony, and so every video it's dependent on something that literally has just happened that prompts me to continue in my video diary of being a light worker and a starseed on a dual mission. So I want to talk a little bit about intuition and prayer meditation, and then also I had a reading that I listened to last night, and that there's the possibility of another protector or guide is a dragon. And so this morning, I did ask last night, well, hopefully, when I was in prayer meditation last night, I was talking about this, and I was like, if there's more than one, because it was indicated there's one or more, I was like, okay, cool, let's see who pops up. Let's see what, maybe I'll get a vision, or maybe something will pop up and I'll know what kind of dragon we're talking about. So I turned on my television this morning, and the very second video that shows up on my feed for me, a pink dragon, a music hurts video for a pink dragon. And so I was listening to the musical, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm guessing the pink dragon is who is showing up. So that's a little bit how divine timing works out. You're given a clue, and then you get substance to back it up, and then it resonates with me because it's a pink dragon, and pink has always been the color for the gay and lesbian community, plus the rainbow flag, but pink especially. So I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So the one thing I want to talk about, prayer meditation. So last night I went to my favorite park, and I've described this to you guys before, and I did 4 walk-arounds. Now, yes, I am still healing from surgery, so the walk-around was a little painful, but it was okay. But I wanted to say, I was doing prayer meditation specifically for you if you resonate as a light worker or you found this channel. Now, there is no coincidence with the divine. If you found this channel, if it showed up, this video shows up, or any of my videos show up, you're meant to watch them. I firmly believe that. That's how it works with me. And I was doing my prayer for light workers that they would hear my voice, and they would awaken or start to awaken and be drawn to the fact that there is a world of resources out there for you. You can unhook from the matrix, and you can begin your journey. But my prayer was specifically to enlighten and awaken light workers. And so I'm going to tell you that when I first started this is like my 3rd time I've tried to do very specific global prayers. So I'm praying for the entire collective on the planet. I'm not just talking about a little region of area here. And it's getting easier. It's getting much easier. It's feeling just very, very natural. And I wrote down some things. Not only is it getting easier, I feel freedom, happiness, and love when I'm in my specific prayer meditations. And to me, that's just a beautiful confirmation that I know that the divine and my guides are working, and they're helping me right there. And I've told you guys before that when I do these videos, they're right here with me. I ask special prayers that they don't let me say something I'm not supposed to say. Who knows what's going to come out, and that I'm guided, and I feel their presence, because sometimes my voice might crack or something like that, but they're controlling the element of that. They're making sure my content is coming out. They're making sure that my message is coming across, because it was stated again in a reading that I just had, where my message is going to inspire people to change and inspire people to act and maybe wake up. So I know that I'm supposed to be doing that. My part is to do these videos and to talk about it. And I just think it's important to document what I'm going through, because if you're new to this, like I am, you want to have like a little bit of a roadmap, and maybe you don't want to talk to someone that just talks on the subject, but is living the subject. There's a very big difference there. So the whole point of and I want to mention thing. Okay, so you can see my tanks in the background. And those of you who don't know, yes, I have Aquascaping on the Fly is my primary YouTube channel. Not to diss you guys, but aquascaping was a gift to me from the divine. And I was prompted to start a channel immediately with no knowledge of it, which is what I did. And my channel's not even quite a year old yet. It's my joy, it's my reward, it's my blessing. That's how I see it. And this channel, I kind of thought, I really didn't think I had enough to say, or, you know, I just didn't have the confidence. I have the confidence now. I was confused before if I was even going to have enough to say, and now things are coming to me constantly. This just came to me this morning. Oh, I could talk about intuition. So that's going to be what we're really talking about. But anyway, in the tanks back here, which I got off topic a little bit. So specifically, this one right here, this one is Tree of Life. This one you can see is Turtle in Motion. And the one you can kind of barely see is Garden of Eden. This is the Trinity series. Yes, my tanks are all spiritual. But in this little tank right here, I had ordered 10 Blue Dream shrimp. It had no shrimp in it. It did have shrimp in it before, but they all died. And, or escaped. You know, I like to say, I don't want to say they escape, but they do escape. I don't have covers on my tanks and so, because I have stuff growing out of them. So they have a tendency to crawl out. They're like little daredevils. They crawl out and I find them on the counter. So yeah, I don't want to say they commit suicide. They may not just be the smartest, because when they crawl out, they can breathe air. I've seen them do it. I've seen them come out and me put them back in there and they're fine. So I know they can do it. But when I'm gone on a trip and they come out, well, there's no person there to put them back in. So I ordered these 10 Blue Dream. I received 8, so 2 were dead. And out of the 8, 4 of them died within 3 days, within 72 hours. So I had 4 left. Well, I have 2 mamas to be in there. I just confirmed it on a video. I was so excited. I was running around screaming like crazy. Well, not running because that would hurt, but I was screaming like crazy, and I just shot a little short video about it. So if you guys are ever curious about what I do on my other channel, you think my energy's high here, you see me on that channel, because I'm like, oh, over the top. It's amazing. I'm so excited. So anyway, that's another thing. So intuition. Why you need to pay attention to your intuition, and your intuition will not lead you astray. I am living proof of that, and I'm going to tell you a true, real-world example of intuition, and it revolves around my dating life. Now, since I was 19, I have been in one relationship. I've rarely been single. My relationships usually go anywhere from 4 years, and that one ended because he died, to right up to 9 years. I'm in an 8-year relationship right now with the husband that I'm going to be divorcing. And I've shared stories about that with you guys. But the one I want to talk about was an 8-year relationship. And my intuition really, really comes in very specifically, and there's no question about it. So one of the things that happened is because the child in me had abandonment issues, which I have dealt with since, but I'm going back in time, had abandonment issues. I've never wanted to be abandoned again. And so I would usually leave first. If the writing was on the wall, I was exiting first. And when I say I have lost everything and had to rebuild my life, I've done it about 4 times. I'm talking losing everything. I mean, physically losing your home, not because someone else took it. The homes were always in my name, because of financial obligations, because of someone doing something that they shouldn't have done, or it was in a breakup. And even though we weren't protected by marriage laws at the time, if I felt like I needed to sacrifice something to get out of that relationship and remain whole, I would. And so that's just kind of like a blanket little statement there. So one time I was dating this guy. Well, okay, let's back up. So I was set up on a blind date through work, and I worked at a nonprofit agency. We were putting together homeless baskets for the holidays. And so we were doing the baskets. We had a Saturday that we were open just for the employees, because the agency was a Monday through Friday. So we were there. We were playing holiday music, and we were putting these baskets together. And I had like Christmas garland around me and some tinsel. And I was standing with like two of my best friends, one which was a homeless worker and the other one was a counselor. I've always had really, really cool friends in the past. And the three of us were standing in the very back of this warehouse room where we were doing our baskets. And the door opened, and I knew I was meeting for the first time through the coworker that ran our nutrition center, that she had set us up on a blind date. And he was coming in as a volunteer, because primarily it was just the staff there doing it, but there were some special volunteers coming in. So he was the first one to arrive. And our door is this metal door that creaks and you can't miss it. You can hear it all over the whole building when it opens up. So we've got Christmas music blasting loud. I hear the door creak open. I legit said, as I saw him for the first time across the room, I said, he is either going to break my heart or that's going to be my next husband. Oh, crap. I said it in the order. He broke my heart. He really did. He was the one that got away with that. We dated solid for 3 months. He's the first one that said he loved me. And then it fell apart right after that. I mean, within a week, it fell apart after that. And that's an entirely different story that we don't have enough time for on this video to unwrap. But just to say, I was on rebound because that shocked me because I had never been dumped. Now, that does not mean I'm bragging about it. It just means that the abandonment child inside of me was not going to be vulnerable like that ever again. And he caught me off guard. And so in about, I think it was within 2 to 3 weeks, I had my first date. And we had talked online a couple of times, and then we decided to meet in person for dinner. So we're going to go, we're meeting. I'm in one part of the city, he's in another part of the city. We decide to meet in the middle at a restaurant, okay, in the evening. So I arrive, I'm actually late, and I see him, he's already gotten out of his car, and I see him walking across the parking lot. This is honest to God what my intuition said right now. I don't have time for this. This is too much. I don't have time for this. I'm going to tell you why I said that or why I felt that way. He had a really pissy walk. Now, if I say a pissy walk, I mean an uppity, pissy walk. And then I said to myself, what's the worst that could happen? It's just dinner. Oh, God. It's the worst thing I could have said because the worst did happen. So in the course of this relationship, I went major into my ego to where I followed his lead. He was a designer, which he didn't make money, okay, because he spent more than he made. His family had money, and so they were helping him. And it didn't help that his best friend had a trust fund. Her husband had a trust fund. There were people around him that had wealth. Now, his family didn't have wealth. They just had a little bit of money. And so when we started dating, what clinched the deal is I had 2 cars. Now, I had sold one of my rental properties because I think I've mentioned on the channel before, I used to be a house flipper. I would move into a place, fix it up, and then sell it. In one instance, I kept one of the houses because I wanted my best friend to move into it because she had never had a house. She was always living in rental apartments. And so I did a remodel on a house specifically for her. And so she had moved into it. Well, this was like maybe 2 or 3 years after that. She finally moves out into her own place, and I decided to sell the property. So I think I had about $30,000 cash out of the sale, and I decided to buy myself a BMW Z3. And so I just went down, paid cash for it. It sounds weird, I know, but I did. So I saw that, hey, that's a reward for me doing hard work. And I splurged for myself. So I had that car, and I had my regular car, which was a Pontiac Sunfire, which they don't even make. And it was an amazing car. I loved it. Another side note. So on my trepidation about what to drive on the date is I had a 1-car garage and a single driveway. So the Pontiac was blocking the BMW, which is in the garage. So I thought, I'm going to drive the BMW because I only drive it on the weekends. I'm going to take it on the date. It was a beautiful evening, and I could put the top down and drive it. So I was driving it. So when I saw him like that, I was like, oh my God. And I parked in the very, very back of the parking lot, very back. I was so cautious about my car. There was no car around me for lanes and lanes. I parked all the way in the back because I don't want anyone getting in my car and ding on it. And because I inherited this thing from my dad where you pamper your cars and you don't let anyone else drive them. So that's left over from my dad. So I go on a date. It's not going that well. I mean, really, it's not. I'm talking. He's not doing that much talking. So we decide, I just thought it was like no big deal. So I walk him out to his car, and his car was in the further part of the park, and he was driving a Mercedes convertible. He wasn't that far away from my car. So when I left his car to go walk to my car, that's when he changed his mind about me. That was my first mistake. I should have drove the Pontiac, because if he saw me in a Pontiac, he wouldn't have cared. But he saw me in a BMW, all of a sudden, now he cared. He told me later on that the only reason why he wanted a second date is because I drove a BMW. That's it. It got from that to much, much worse. I lived in a little 2-bedroom house that I loved. He had to have something bigger. So we had to get a 2-story house, and we had to put in a pool, because if he was going to live in Texas, he had came from California, he had to have a pool because Texas was too hot. Like an idiot, I caved in on all this crap. So the house that we bought, we immediately had to remodel, because I'm now with a designer that has very specific tastes. But I learned very quickly that he may have had the knowledge of being a designer, but he did not have talent as a designer. He was using my ideas, and this is what he did the entire time we were together. I worked on all his projects with him. I would come up with an idea, and I would always get this pushback. Oh, that wouldn't work because it doesn't follow, and he would cite some rule, design rule you're supposed to follow. And then inadvertently, within this 2-week period, he would rebrand my idea, and I always accused him of just stealing every single idea. He did not know how to have an idea of his own. He was not creative enough. He could not create. And you guys know, what have I always said? I'm a creator. I am divine feminine. I co-create with the divine. And so I was co-creating back then. I just didn't even know it, because I always get inspiration for something, and I knew what to do remodeling-wise. I knew what a buyer would want in a property, and I would make those changes, and I never had any issue selling any of my properties. And it was amazing. I loved it because I loved the process. I could move in and do what I wanted. Well, with him, it was just the opposite. I mean, I put together his portfolio and came up with every quote. He couldn't even come up with a quote about a photo. That's how bad he was. But he wanted to live that high lifestyle, and he wanted to act like he was living a high lifestyle. And that's when I learned he wasn't making any money, and he was a financial drain. And so the first house we moved into, I was offered a job in another state, and we hadn't even been in it very long. And I told him he was going to have to stay back and sell it. Well, an investigator showed up at that house. How am I going to say this? He was wanted for questioning by the FBI and the Postmaster General. I found out later on that he had served time in federal prison for money laundering with his first business. I found out over time that he had embezzled more than, I think it was $125,000 from one of his employers, and that's how he was funneling his life. So he would move on to another job in another city or change his identity. He had, from what I remember, if I remember correctly, I think he had a combination, it was 5 to 7 identities that he would come up with, names that he would use in combinations with people he knew. And that's where the relationship went. So he bolted, he freaked out. That house never sold. I lost that house. So I had to buy quickly before that caught up with my credit report. So I bought a place the first time I moved to Naples, Florida. And it was what you call a coach home, which is really 4 units in one structure. So you had like 4 little garages. It was like a townhome, but you had a downstairs unit and an upstairs unit. So they were stacked. and then stacked on the other side. And it was brand new. He always had to have brand new because he was fearful of hauntings. And I didn't understand that until he told me the story later on when he was drunk. His best friend in high school was murdered, and he said she was haunting him. Her killer was never found, and I suspect it was him. I went to see a psychic one time, and she confirmed that. And that's when she also confirmed, and I didn't even ask her anything. She said this all free will when I first sat down. She goes, he'll never be able to hurt you again, and he'll be in jail one day. So I was like, oh, okay. I could not believe she saw that in me without me saying a word. That tells you how good she was. But anyway, I digress about the story about how it could got worse, and it got much, much worse. That was the tip of the iceberg. That was within the first 2 years. So we moved out of state 5 times altogether. 5 times in an 8-year relationship. He would always come up with a reason why, business opportunities or something like that. My job, I was in nonprofit work. I could always find a nonprofit job. That wasn't a problem. But we lost. When we moved that another time, we lost my dream home that my mother had helped put in like hundreds of tulips in the backyard, lived on an acreage. And he was going to get that house. Was supposed to be leased professionally, which I thought it was. It was not. He never had it leased. He let the house go back. That house was in his name. My house was in another state that we were keeping. Lost that one as well. When the relationship finally ended, the last house we were in, I had purchased. And when I announced I was done, we divided everything up. He moved out of state, and then he planned his revenge. His revenge was as he showed up with a former neighbor of mine from another neighborhood we lived in together, with a U-Haul, broke into my house, stole everything else out of it, and my car. So I was driving a friend's car that day because I was going to pick up a lawnmower that I was getting serviced, and my car was too small. And so he stole my car, robbed my house, and within 2 weeks after that event is when the first credit card bill came in. He had stolen my identity. And that was the hardest battle to fight. It took me 5 full years to clear my name because it's very difficult to tell a creditor that someone you weren't married to legally had all your information and stole your identity without making it look like you are part of it. What saved me is I had written paperwork from the agencies that were trying to work with me to find where he was currently. So I had FBI and the U.S. Postmaster that both had investigations going on that I knew of. And the only reason they were able to contact me is that we shared a residence when he bought that one house under his name. So when I say it got much, much worse, it did. It was 8 years. And during that 8-year period, at the very end, the last year, my precious Chinese pug, China Li Shengfu, yeah, she had a very formal name, she passed away. Well, she didn't pass away. She had, she'd been sick for 2 years, and I was told that she was passing, but she was still alert mentally, and she never lost her appetite. And so, but she lost the use of her hips, so she couldn't squat anymore to go to the bathroom. So literally, the last 2 years we were together, I did not work. I took care of my dog. That's where my heart was. And so it got so bad one evening where she was spitting up this black bile, and I just felt, I was just crying. And the only way I could get her to bring her out of it, when we were first together, because I had to pick up the litter when I saw her. One of the things that I found out she liked, she never minded getting in the tub. She always wanted to be in the tub when I was in the tub. So the first time I put her in the tub with me, I instinctively am holding her like this. She was just a puppy, and I would let her like float with her back in the water, but her head was up, and then I would massage her. Oh my God, she was in heaven. She demanded that. She loved that. And so we had such a beautiful connection, and I'm glad I had her she was 16 years old when she passed, so I'm glad I had her. But I wanted to share with you a really quick story about how the spirit and animals really work. So I was the first, I think it was the first or the second person to show up for the ad that was in the paper. This is back when you had to go into the paper to find, you wanted to get a puppy. And this couple had a litter, and they weren't breeders, they just had a litter. And I was looking for black. I wanted a black pug. And so they just happened to mention in the ad it was black, and it was in my local town. And I was dirt poor. This is after I had left my very first relationship, where I had to walk away from my house. And let's make this sound good. I moved across the street from my ex and bought a house that was for $25,000. And it had heat, it had no air conditioning, and it needed total remodeling. But I moved into it, and I bought a private mortgage from the daughter of the owner, because the owner had been my neighbor. And I loved it because she had one of the few houses on the block that had a really big porch, covered porch. And so the daughter felt really comfortable that her mom's house that she had lived in her entire her life as a child, was going to someone that her mother had spoken about, that she liked me and the boy, they called the boys that lived in the neighborhood, which meant all the gay boys that lived in the neighborhood remodeling houses. And her house was from the 1940s. So they easily gave me a mortgage. So now that I have a place of my own, the first thing I wanted to do was to get a dog. So I show up, and the puppies are in this big, like the size of a playpen, and they're just terrorizing the thing. I mean, terrorizing. They're all running around and roughhousing and chewing things up. And there's one standing with her little paws in front, just like this, just statuesque in the corner, like directly across from me, just standing right there. And I said, oh, I want that one. Because I was thinking she was going to be like, oh, so easy and, very docile. No, she read my energy, and she knew instinctively. I found this out after I had a pet medium convey her messages to me. And one of the funniest things she told me about is that day, she explained what she was doing because she knew she wanted to go home with me. So she played the part. Now, what was the most beautiful part of this whole story is when the medium started speaking, and I was a wreck. This was 2 years after her death, and I was still a wreck. I had so much guilt after having to put her down. The medium only asked me my first name and her first name. And so she says, there's someone coming through like a pistol. And I just broke down bawling. I mean, my head was on the table. I couldn't stand it. China's nickname when I got her home, within an hour, her nickname was Pistol, because she went from that little cute little standing in the corner kind of thing to a pistol running through the house. As soon as she figured out she could go anywhere in that house she wanted to, either direction, so she could find me, she did it. And she understood me from day one. I told her where her bed was. I told her where her bowl was. I gave her her first tennis ball. She knew everything. She was so smart. And we had a beautiful life together. But she started out with that, with being a pistol. So the part of the thing about in that reading, she now knew that I was single, and she said how happy she was that I broke free of the individual I was with, because we were together for the last years of her life. And that part was amazing, that she was giving me confirmation that what I, even though she saw what I went through, but she was proud of me because that it did not, knock me down. So that's just one instance, well, two, because of the dating guy. That's two instances where my intuition was spot on. And look what happened. I pegged the first guy. I said he was going to break my heart. He did. The second one, I said I didn't have time for this. I shouldn't have. I should have just left, and my life would have been so much easier. But I wouldn't have learned a valuable lesson, and I wouldn't have learned how more to protect myself. Now, I'm still, at this point, we're years away from me to being the person I am right now. But if I had only paid more attention when I was younger to my intuition, and that's what I want to really you guys to focus on. If your intuition is saying something, please don't ignore it. You're going to be doing yourself a major disservice. Please run with whatever your intuition is saying. Your intuition won't lie to you because your intuition comes from the divine. Period. That's it. It is that simple. So if you are knowing there's something different about you and you're not sure why, if you see a higher purpose in life, not just to pay your mortgage and to drive the right car and the clothes and the Facebook life, you see there's a higher level of consciousness going on around you that you can pull yourself from, pull yourself out of, awaken, pierce the veil on the other side, unplug from that matrix, so you don't have to be bogged down in the problems of most ordinary lives, because that's what a lot of people are consumed with. They're consumed with the ego and with fitting in like the sheep. You don't have to do that. You are separate. You are special. You're created for a reason. And your reason might be that you could be a light worker. And your light is connected to source, which is the divine, which also is connected to the sun, the moon, and the entire cosmos. We are all light energy, love, harmony, balance. What happens on Earth reflects and goes out into the entire universe, into the cosmos. So the reason why there could be a lot of light workers being activated right now is that Earth needs a shift back to an emphasis on humanity, helping each other, not hurting each other, uplifting, not shoving down, not being thrown in prisons, feeding the hungry, healing the sick. That's what the shift is. And so there's a lot of people that are waking up, and maybe they don't understand why, but there's a reason out there. So in my prayers to light workers across the universe is, if you can hear my voice, follow the clues. We are out here. Seek one of us out that has a presence online at least, or seek someone out online, some guidance on how to go about awakening yourself. But remember, the divine is in you already and speaks to you, and so do your guides. You will never be left hanging. You will always be guided and protected. Even when you're undergoing, like say, a dark night of the soul, it's a process for a reason. You have to peel back those layers of your ego to let your higher self ascend. It's a very simple complex, not complex, very simple. It's a very simple point to make. Yeah, I changed it completely right. I didn't say complex again. It's a very simple point to make. It's that easy. There's nothing that's going to be difficult about it. Now, will your journey be difficult? Maybe. Depends on what you got to overcome and what you're willing to face and how quickly you're willing to face it, and to get to the point where you can understand what you're supposed to be doing, achieve your higher level, receive the bounty of the blessings that will be brought forward to you. So that is my prayer for you guys today, and for sending it out across the cosmos, that whatever light workers are out there can hear and activate and awake. Well, I should say that backwards. Hear, awake, and activate. And to pull onto your higher resources and your intuition. Trust your intuition. It won't fail you. So if this has resonated with you, that's amazing, and I love it. If you want to come on to my other channel and watch how I play around with my shrimp and talk about miracles all day long, more than welcome to come over there too. And if you have any questions or concerns, please put them in a comment. If you want content on something specific that I've not spoken about, please let me know. But until then, you guys know I'm a flight attendant. You may see me in the skies. Maybe. You never know. Or until my next video update, I'm wishing you nothing but light and love. And you guys have a great day. And thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.